Mics are hot.
Good afternoon, Greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. And again, we work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. And we've got a lot to talk about today. A lot of things happening. Hurricane Ida fallout continues, which we're going to lead with here. Some big MLS news. And apparently, we've got a local suburb that was ranked the 6th most suburban-friendly place to live in the country. I don't even know what that means. We'll talk about it. Stacey, how are you making out today?
Pretty good. I'm glad to be here. That's for sure.
We are glad to have you as always. We got Nick here, our man behind the camera. Maybe we'll hear him say like 3 words today. We'll see what happens. So let's talk about what's going on right now because of Hurricane Ida. And when you weren't here last week, Stacey, we actually kind of foreshadowed this unintentionally with Monica, which was like, what happens after these natural disasters? You got a home under contract. How does this go? And I've been through this a couple times with Hurricane Sandy. That's the most recent one I can think of. But now we've got tornadoes that are in the mix, which is still a little crazy to me. And we got a notice from our preferred mortgage lender, Mortgage America. They are the best mortgage company I've run into in the 20 years I've been doing this. I know you feel the same way.
Absolutely, 110%.
And this is how ahead of it these guys are. So we have a Slack work communication. If you don't know what Slack is, then you might have been living under a rock. And we get this message from Kyle Sutera, who's one of the 3 gentlemen we work with at Mortgage America. And he says, hey, guys, any properties that were appraised on or before September 5th, which is the day of the hurricane, are going to require a re-inspection by the appraiser prior to closing. And that goes into effect for all counties in our general area because we're in the presidentially declared major disaster area. And he goes on to say, re-inspections do not take long. They shouldn't hold up many transactions. Just be aware this is happening and encourage everyone, being buyers, sellers, agents on the other side of the transaction, to be as accommodating as possible. The appraisers will be spread very thin as a result of this. So what do you think about all this? I mean, get into your reaction as an agent, then we can kind of talk through what this means and how to navigate these transactions.
Well, this happened. I am experiencing this firsthand with the deals being held up and buyers and sellers being affected, to no fault of their own. There's a lot of it. This is like a blanket. Mm-hmm. It's a blanket declaration. So obviously there's a lot of homes that have not been affected. And unfortunately, there's a lot that have been affected. And I really feel bad for those people because it's been devastating in a lot of areas, especially like my hometown, Downingtown here. Mm-hmm. So I understand, protecting their interests with the mortgage companies have to do re-inspections. But on the flip side, when you're dealing with the buyers and sellers on a real personal level, mm-hmm. it's created so much extra stress on their part, with moving companies and rearranging and, what does this mean? We can't close today. And just, it's been very, very stressful on all sides. It's affected 2 deals of mine this week. One yesterday, we're still trying to schedule. And the appraisers are going to be inundated and overwhelmed. So this is just the beginning of it. I don't know how far down the line this is going to go as far as what's going to be in store for closings in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because the title companies, they're stacking closings now as it is. Mm-hmm. So how can you, triple and double up on closings? It's tough. It's a tough situation, but I totally understand why this happened.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about a natural disaster. I mean, correct. I'm just glad a lot more people didn't. The people that got harmed in this, physically and didn't have their lives. It was a small number compared to what it could have been. So that's kind of number one, and that's probably how people should be thinking about it. If we talked about Gary V, he said, "I'm just grateful no one in my family died today," and yep. I think people might need to take that approach with these transactions. Number mm-hmm. one. Secondly, you've got to realize these mortgage companies, they have hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in these properties. It's not, if your home's mortgage, it's not just your home. The mortgage company owns a piece of it.
Right.
I mean, that's the way it works. So they're going to want to protect their investment. And this has happened before. This is normal. You mentioned Downingtown and parts of Chester County. I mean, there's also, 676 was like a canal, right? I mean, there's a lot of homes that took a lot of water. So if I'm buying that home, I mean, and I have 80% of the value being lent out, or 95% or 50% or whatever the number is, that person's going to want to understand, or that party's going to want to understand that their investment is protected. So there's nothing unreasonable here, number one.
Right.
To your point, there's a major challenge here when it comes to appraisers, because right now, according to the 2018 professional fact sheet from the U.S. Appraisal Institute, there's only 78,000 appraisers in the country. And these guys are already backed up because transaction volume's up. They're already taking weeks to turn around appraisals. I mean, the appraisal industry has really been exposed here over the past 18 months, and they're the ones that have to go back out. That's a problem. And then on top of it, there's all these delays happening. Like you said, title companies are scheduling everything. It's all getting moved around. You got moving companies. There's a whole chain of events that happens here that no one talks about. So this is going to cause some pain for people from a timing perspective. I'd encourage all the buyers and sellers to just be grateful that, again, nobody died. Hopefully everything's moving forward with their house. And we'll talk about kind of what to look for and walk through issues here in a second. You're going to have some patience here, because there's a lot of people that were affected really negatively. I mean, just our team members alone that I know live out in kind of Western Chester County. I mean, they had 4 or 5 inches of water in their basement.
Yeah.
A couple of them couldn't get home for like 3-4 hours at a time.
It was bad.
There was real issues here. So some people might need to understand there's other problems that are a little bigger than their house closing on time, and they're not going to feel that way. People always prioritize what goes on in their lives, and especially in real estate, because it's one of those top 3 or 4 most stressful things people go through. So, what I see here, knowing that's the case, this is the job of the smart agent to get ahead of this.
Right.
And I would literally, if I had people that were going to be affected by this, I would block out 2 hours of my day, call down each and every one pending sale, and tell my clients what's going on and what to expect. I'd probably send out an email in advance, include a video so they can see the empathy, because there's nothing easy about this situation, and make it clear that, hey, this isn't anyone's fault. It's what we're dealing with. Here's what's going to happen. We've seen this before. And if you haven't, get connected with an organization or someone who has. And that way you're not having those freak out phone calls that a lot of agents tend to get, because they don't explain anything up front.
Right.
So that to me is number one for an agent. What should buyers and sellers be doing right now if they were affected? What would you be recommending? I mean, you're in it right now. So what are you telling your people?
Well, I'm just trying to calm everybody down. That's first and foremost, because like you said, it's so stressful anyway. And this has really, I haven't had a chance to even talk to my folks who might be closing next week or the following week yet, because I'm dealing with yesterday's and today's and tomorrow's events. So, but yeah, just trying to keep everybody calm. We will definitely close, because everybody had clear to close. This is just a bump in the road. And both sides are going to be a little inconvenienced. But again, like you said, there was severe devastation. People did lose lives in Downingtown, where I'm from.
Yeah,
so
no, and we're not minimizing any of that. That's obviously the priority.
Exactly. So for the most part, what I've experienced is that once they get over the initial shock of the delay, they're okay. They're on board. They're going to just sit back and wait for something to happen. Wait for the appraisers to come back out and the mortgage companies to release the funds, and then we can close.
Well, that is the most important thing an agent should be doing, is just having that conversation of, hey, here's what happens. Don't be alarmed. This is normal. And because it's not a common thing that happens. It's common enough that we know that this is going to be the direction things go. So that's what everyone needs to hear right now that's listening. If you're in one of these transactions, there's nothing abnormal here. You're borrowing a lot of money. It's a huge financial transaction. This is what's going to happen. Now, the flip side is, and I think this is the issue people should really be talking about, because there's a lot of homes that didn't get hurt, and or maybe they got a little bit of water and it wasn't that bad. And any water is bad in my view, but it was nothing that's crazy. So you get to like the pre-settlement walkthrough. What should buyers be looking for, and what should sellers be prepared to deal with, especially if there was some kind of damage from the storm? Because I don't think a lot of folks really understand the purpose of these walkthroughs, and they also don't understand what rights they have in the agreement, especially when they're waiving home inspections to secure homes, that there's still other rights available. So what are you looking for? It's, now this has happened. It's 2 weeks later. Let's say you got a walkthrough coming up right after the show here. What kinds of things are you looking for to make sure the buyer's interest is protected?
Well, I'd be reaching out to the listing agent just to see if they have any information, if there was storm damage before we do the walkthrough. If there was, I'll gather the information, what was done, to mitigate any damages. And going forward, if there are major damages, what can we do? Problem solving right off the jump. If there hasn't been any issues, I'm still going to remind the buyers we're going to look for any type of smell before we enter the basement.
Great point. Yeah.
There's an odor to the mildew and the mold, especially if a basement has become wet and it's drying out. Look for fans blowing around water or blowing around, because then that's a good sign. I'm not so concerned about dehumidifiers, because when I go in to do showings and there's a dehumidifier running, I actually appreciate that, because it's definitely a good mitigating instrument for keeping basements dry. And I think all basements should have some type of dehumidifiers going. So that doesn't really send any alarms to me, but we're definitely going to look for any type of damage that might have come into the basement. Go around the house, check around to see if there's any type of, like gutters that were formed from overflowing water coming out of the gutters. Because if there's an overflow of water, that could indicate clogged gutters, which, helps water enter the basement area. So there's a couple of things to obviously look for. Use all your senses.
So I agree with that. And what I'm clear people need to know is what their rights are. Because let's say they waived an inspection. I think you gave some really good, tactical. You can always detect moisture with your nose. Love that. Check out the water runoff, and you can usually see the signs of this stuff. So here's what people are entitled to, and I think this is really important, because a lot of times, especially in the age of waived home inspections, some sellers think, well, that means they're just buying the property as is, and that's not the case. So when you look at the agreement of sale, and this is in Pennsylvania, and might be a little dry, so I'm going to make it quick and to the point. There's a clause called maintenance and risk of loss. And the maintenance and risk of loss paragraph, it is on page 11 of the agreement of sale, paragraph 18. And it says specifically, seller will maintain the property, including but not limited to structures, grounds, fixtures, appliances, and personal property, specifically listed in the agreement in its present condition, normal wear and tear expected. So they have to maintain the property in its current condition. And if anything fails before settlement, now fails could be water's getting into the property, there's mold, there's mildew, anything that and we've verified all this with the PAR legal hotline prior to the show here, so where we're getting the information. That's the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. From the day the contract was executed up until settlement, that's the time frame that we're talking about. So if anything fails, the seller can say, hey, we're going to repair or replace that before settlement. And that's the end of it. The buyer can't get out at that point. If they're going to repair or replace it, that's it. And that's really important to note. Or they can offer two things, and they'll have to deliver written notice to the buyer of the seller's decision to either credit for settlement a fair market value of the failed part of the property as acceptable to the lender, or they're not going to do anything. And if the seller doesn't do anything, that's when the buyer can get out. So if the seller is willing to fix things, the buyer doesn't get to pick the contractor. They don't get to dictate terms. It has to be fixed, repaired, or replaced, period. I mean, that's what it says right in the contract here. And again, this has been verified by the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. So in this particular situation, there's not this, oh, well, there's water, we want out of the property. Now the seller may still let him out. I don't know how that's going to go, but this is what the agreement of sale says. And that's where it's really important to get legal advice. If you don't totally agree with this, all we can do is tell people what the agreement of sale says. So in these situations, you go down there and there's watermarks on the wall, or the drywall is cut out, and they're telling you they're not going to do anything else. It's important for buyers to know that the only obligation of the seller is maintain and repair or replace. They don't have to give a credit. You can't negotiate the credit. And if you don't agree, then you got to go to mediation, go to court. And that's how this typically is going to play out. So have you seen any walkthrough issues yet from this sort of thing?
Not from this sort of thing, no. I have not personally seen any issues with any water entering or storm damage, I should say, because it could be roofing materials, like, damaged roof, windows or gutters falling off. But I have not personally seen any damage from the storm.
Got it.
Deals. Yep.
So while we're on the walkthrough topic, because I think we've kind of explained exactly what to do in these storm issues, while we're on the walkthrough topic, what else are you doing at walkthroughs? Like, talk to me about, like, do you have like a plan when you go in? What things are you checking for? What aren't you checking for? Because that's really the buyer's last chance to make sure they're getting what they paid for. And the buyer's entitled to 2 walkthroughs. That's what the agreement of sale calls for. So what's your process there, Stacey?
For the final walkthrough or for both walkthroughs?
Let's call it final at this point.
So we have a checklist that we use. It's called the final walkthrough checklist, which is awesome.
Did you come up with that name? Was that the creative one?
Yeah, that's the creative name. So I just did a walkthrough on, oh my gosh, these days are running together. I think it was Monday. We just did a final walkthrough, had the checklist, and basically on the checklist, it has all the pertinent things that you need to check. You're going to check the faucets, make sure, the hot water is working, the cold water comes out, make sure there's no leaks underneath each and every faucet.
Mm-hmm.
Check all the appliances, make sure they're working. All the burners on the stove, the oven, the dishwasher, the refrigerator's plugged in, working, the AC kicks on, or the heater. Let's see what else is on the checklist. You just want to make sure that everything is, the same condition as when they went through, either for their showing or their first walkthrough with their inspector. So you just go through the checklist, you check off each and every item, take notes. It was a great time for my particular buyer yesterday or Monday when we did the walkthrough. He did a couple more measurements and made notes of things that he wanted to do right away so he could get a jump start on going shopping at Home Depot, things like that. Outlets. He wanted some basement paint. So it's just a great opportunity to make sure that everything is functioning that's on the list. Everything's fine. If there is an issue, you definitely have to reach out to the listing agent and, bring up any issue. But, once you check off all those items, then you feel like it's been very successful.
And the other keyword I'd add there is that the property's vacant and broom swept. Like that, yes. I mean, people expect like the property to be sparkling clean, and that's probably what you should do. That's the right thing to do, in my view. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't do it. Mm-hmm. That's another story. So you want to make sure everything's working. It's the condition that you saw it in when you toured the property. Mm-hmm. No, nothing's failed that wasn't disclosed. Any inspection repairs were done.
If there was items that were to be left or they negotiated certain appliances, or if there's items that had to be removed, make sure that they're gone.
Mm-hmm. And the best advice I have here for buyers and for sellers is get this stuff worked out before you sign the documents. Because if you don't, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to negotiate anything after someone's gotten their check, they moved out of state. Can you do it? Sure. How likely is it? I don't really know. So the walkthrough's your chance to make sure that you're getting what you want. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons we're talking about this here. We know that non-contingent deals don't waive those rights of maintenance. That's really important to know because a lot of people will tell you otherwise. But again, this is verified by the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors legal hotline, and it's from the date of contract up until the settlement. And the walkthrough is your chance. Now, you do get 2 walkthroughs. So real quick, do you see a lot of people take advantage of both walkthroughs? What do they? How do they use it? Like, 'cause that might be a good thing to share here with the audience.
It's very important to use both walkthroughs. Even if you waive inspections, you definitely have to take your 2 walkthroughs. Utilize the time to either do your own inspection throughout the house on your first walkthrough, take measurements, pictures, whatever you're going to need. I think it's really, really vital. Typically for my buyers, I recommend that they utilize their first walkthrough to go along with their inspection. The home inspection.
Inspection.
Inspector.
INSPECTION.
It's been a long couple of weeks.
I got you. I'm just.
Oh, thanks, Tom. And to spend that time with the inspector to get to know the house, because that's really important. Where's the main water shutoff valve? How's my heater? So to me, that's vital that the homeowner or the potential buyer spends that time with the inspector. And then obviously the final walkthrough, get as close to closing date as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, take the time. It might take an hour, it might take an hour and a half, depending on the size of the house, but make sure you take the time to go through with your buyer to check off all of those things on the checklist.
Got it. So we know how to use the walkthroughs. We know what to do now that things are coming up and we're dealing with a natural disaster here. We know that you don't waive your rights from a non-contingent deal, what maintenance and risk of loss is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to jump in next to some major changes coming from the MLS, kind of our industry news section here. And then we're going to talk about this whole article about Exton being the most friendly suburb or in the country, whatever the heck that means. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online.
I got your commercial right here for you, by the way. Script and everything. Freshly off the print. Actually, it was printed out an hour ago.
From Alliances. To find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
The
15.
real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group.
All right, 9 seconds. Stand by.
692-6976 or visit our website, tomtoole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
He's awesome.
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. And we were talking about Paul Haratunian from our team. He is awesome.
He's awesome.
That's what you heard from Stacey there as we were coming in.
Yeah.
And again, we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. Stacey and I both work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. So what Stacey and I want to go over next, and this is something that I anticipate we will see coming down the pike shortly, is that about 5 days ago, there was some news that broke that the largest MLS in the nation signed off on a ton of changes to listings. And this was the California Regional MLS, which has more than 108,000 subscribers. To give you some perspective here, there's 1.5 million realtors in all of the U.S. So I mean, you're almost at 10% of the realtor population. And what they talk about here is that some of the changes that they're rolling out are going to be how listing agents and brokers appear on online listing pages, eliminating a rule regarding the commingling of listings, and stepping up enforcement of rules regarding pocket listing and coming soon listings. So what they specifically did, they have a listing credit rule for listings that are distributed to agent and broker websites through the internet data exchange feeds. And the IDX feeds pull listings from all subscribers in an MLS to allow the subscribers to display all the listings that are available. And they're calling this update the Idx Transparency Initiative. Riveting topic here. But basically what it says is that the previous rule, all the listing displays identify the name of the listing firm and the name of the listing agent in a manner to easily identify such listing firm or agent and the name of the co-listing agent firm and et cetera. So they if you go to like our website and it's on our listing, it'll say listed by XYZ Brokerage and Joe Smith Realtor. So that's what it says at the bottom. Now what they're going to do is that the new rule says all listing brokers grant permission for any advertising broker to display any listing submitted to the service by the listing broker only if the listing display or advertisement is clear so that a reasonable real estate consumer understands who the agent is, who's the advertising broker, and how to contact the listing agent or the broker. So basically, they're going to put contact information up on these websites. So if you go to a RE/MAX website, it's going to have all the Berkshire Hathaway listings and you know how to contact them. So there was an FAQ about this. And then I want to hear what you think, Stacey. And the CRMLS said that it was acting based on subscriber feedback that agents and brokers presented their ideas to the Rules Committee. And it was composed of active real estate professionals from each association, board, and MLS that participate. And they refine their feedback before presenting it. And the goal of the rule is to address consumer frustrations because many consumers have become frustrated at the lack of transparency on listing detail pages. They call the phone number or click contact the agent, and they see that in an advertisement expecting to speak with the listing agent instead of getting the advertising broker. What do you think about all this?
Well, I totally understand this because there's many times that people call in and they think they're calling the listing agent. I'm all for transparency. 100%. The more transparent everything is, the better. What I'm concerned about is that the consumers are going to be directed all the time now to the listing agents, and they might not understand dual agency, and it might not be explained to them. So they might not have their own full representation of a buyer's agent. So that's my concern.
So let's explain dual agency for everyone listening. So dual agency can happen in two ways. One would be if another agent from the firm is representing the buyer and the seller. So if Stacey and I are working on a transaction, I have the buy side, she has the sell side. That's dual agency without a conflict. Then there's dual agency with a potential conflict. And this varies from state to state. So this is Pennsylvania only, where I have a listing, someone calls me, I say, great, let's go look at the property. Then they want to buy it. Then I could function as a dual agent there. I don't. I rarely have done this because it's only when I'm asked to by the clients because I want to make sure the interest is split. Not a lot of agents operate that way. That's what I've done personally. I've made a decision to do that. So there's never like a question or like a conflict or any like tension between myself and the consumer because I don't want them to think I'm not working for them. So because of that, you can do that. You can work both sides. And a lot of people don't understand that. Mm-hmm. The flip side is some people think, well, if I call the listing agent, I'm going to get a better deal. Right. Which the listing agent and the seller have already signed a contract spelling out what the compensation is. So, I think you have a really good point. And I've always felt that calling the listing agent when you're a buyer is like calling your husband or your wife's divorce attorney in the middle of the nastiest divorce ever. And you don't want that person handling both sides. You need your own hired gun, whatever you want to call it, your advocate in the transaction to represent your interest. So that is a major concern that I have about this. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I mean, I do understand where people are coming from here too. Really, it's my view is people don't read what they're looking at half the time. I mean, how many times do you see somebody, whether it's a real estate agent, they just don't read what's going on. Right. Like they just hit a button and they want something to happen. And I think that's society in general where that's a real problem because you can go right on our website, right? So tomtoole.com, we have one of these. We have IDX feeds. And you go down the listing section and you click on that. And literally it says right underneath, courtesy of, this one says DR Horton Realty of Pennsylvania. That's a builder. So it tells us exactly who that is. And what they talk about in this article here is that what's a, and I found this to be kind of funny, what's a reasonable real estate consumer?
I thought that was funny too.
And how they define it is the policy doesn't spell out exactly what makes what a reasonable real estate consumer is. And then they go on to say they have some FAQs that it should not take a reasonable real estate consumer longer than 5 seconds of looking at the listing to be able to make the determinations required by the rule. Most consumers do not expect to see the details about the listing agent and broker as part of a list of multiple properties returning from a search on the small card shown on a map search page. Display listing agent and broker's name with their contact information, close to the photos, price, bed, bath, and property description. And if the website design team is questioning or debating if their design of the location of attribution meets the new consumer, then it probably does not. Which I think that third part's kind of silly, because if they're asking, maybe they should provide more guidance if you're having this rule. So do you think this is going to stick? Like, I mean, talk to me more about this, because I just don't know that. I mean, I know what most of these website providers out there, they're actually really particular about listing all this information.
Mm-hmm.
Even a brokerage specific site will do the same thing. So do you think this is going to make its way out to our way and with our MLS?
It definitely could, because typically, if it starts in California, it definitely makes its way east. So it could make its way here, but that is the concern. Folks, a lot of buyers, I mean, if you only buy one home in your lifetime, or maybe two, initially right off the jump, you might not have an understanding of the different agency types.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why if you're calling directly to the listing agent, you could assume that, well, that's who I have to contact in order to get the information on the home. So the consumer really just needs a lot more information out there in front of them, that they have an option to have their own representation, to have a buyer's agent that's going to pull for them 110%. I'm like you, Tom. I don't like to work both sides of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I don't know. I don't want people to question me, if I'm working.
Yeah.
So I don't like dual agency. But I think there's going to be issues with that. I think there's going to be problems. I think some consumers are going to just reach out to the listing agent, and there might not be clarity on the roles. And they might end up getting into a situation they did not necessarily want to be in.
Looking at my crystal ball here, because I jumped on a couple different websites and just did some searches, and all these websites, Keller Williams, Remax, I mean, you can tell right away who's the listing agent. It literally says here, listed by XYZ firm, right at the bottom. So if they want name and phone number, that's fine. They still may not, reach out to that listing agent. I would say this lasts until there's a lawsuit. And then there's some lawsuit saying, hey, I didn't want to contact the listing agent, or this person didn't have my best interest in mind, or whatever it could be. And that to me is going to be where the challenge is. And they actually, in the article, they show the current listing credits, and it's the same thing where they have listed by XYZ or ABC or whomever. And what they wanted to say is kind of like what Zillow does, or if you go to Zillow's website, and Zillow probably does this for a reason, right? So let's just look up properties in Bala Cynwyd, since that's where we're sitting right now. And you go on the Zillow's website, it has the same, here's the listing agent at the bottom. And then when you click on it, you have to scroll down but it does have the listing agent, the name of the company, and the phone number. And it's kind of right there. It's not very difficult to find. It takes maybe 2 or 3 seconds. So if you look at the screenshots on this article, I think that's what they're going to be looking for. And then they actually, they showed before and after kind of scenarios where it's like at the bottom right-hand corner, it just has a phone number and a name there, which some websites already do that. Mm-hmm. I would imagine what's going to happen here is, given all these lawsuits that are out there, you have NAR, DOJ, you have the class action suit against NAR and all the major real estate companies. This is going to be something that is part of the new implementation, and it may be why NAR and DOJ, where the DOJ pulled the settlement off the table, because they want to adjust some of these things. Because if you look at, you look at what this is kind of coming out, something new. I could see this being part of that settlement of overpaying with buyer agent fees and everything else. So this could be the new way that things are done. I don't know if it's going to change consumer behavior that much, because people don't want to pick up the phone and call. They typically want to get more information about a property.
Right.
And when they're searching for properties, what I know about consumers is that when they search for properties, they want property information. Mm-hmm. When they search for agents, that's when they're interviewing agents. So, it's, and if it does, if it does change, this becomes a national thing, then you got to worry, look at what's going to happen to Zillow and Redfin and these other companies where they're totally portal based. Are they going to go out of business? Zillow had an emailed statement that came out that said, as part of our switch to IDX feeds and becoming CRMLS participants earlier this year, we agreed to comply with all CRMLS rules and regulations, which includes adhering to listing credit and display rules, such as the updates that went into effect. One of our core values is to empower consumers and increase transparency in real estate, which includes efforts to give shoppers the information they need to connect with listing agents. For more than a decade, our philosophy of turning on the lights for consumers has meant we've consistently displayed listing agents' names, contact information, something not done on all IDX sites today. So, and maybe that's why they've kind of gotten ahead of this. Also, too, I mean, they've got some connections in California, so maybe they knew this was coming. Now, Redfin doesn't look like that. When you look at the two websites, I mean, Redfin kind of buries the information a little more, and they did not respond to a comment. So, Redfin's a company that I think is going to be a little more vulnerable here than others. So this is going to be interesting. I mean, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I get how you brought it into that lawsuit, the DOJ lawsuit against the NRA or NAR.
Wrong NRA, wrong organization.
My
here.
brain is a little fuzzy.
That's okay. It's okay.
I'm getting through. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think you're right. They knew these other things were probably in play, and it's going to be all bundled together. So I think you're right about that.
There's also a piece of this here before we wrap and move on to the final segment. The CRMLS, 4 months ago, they declared Saturday a business day, which I think is ridiculous. I mean, that to me is a bit crazy. Just because real estate agents tend to work 7 days a week, guess what? Now we lost the day on the weekend. I hate that. I hate that declaration. I know why they did it. They eliminated the term business day from its rules, except for its clear cooperation policy, which was instituted by NAR and went into effect last year, which requires all the listing brokers to submit a listing to the MLS within 1 business day. So, except for that policy, all references to days in the CRMLS will refer to calendar days. And it also revises its rules to make violations of the clear cooperation policy no longer eligible for a warning before a citation is issued. I like that because if you're going to have a policy, you got to find the people. I've seen people violate this left and right, and I don't report people for business. I'm here to empower our agents to sell more homes. So I don't got time for all that nonsense.
Right.
But you see it happen constantly. Like I get emails from people, hey, this will be on the market in 6 months. And they're coming from another brokerage and it's not on the MLS. Well, that's violating this policy. So I would, they have a pretty heavy fine system. So the citation policy, for the clear cooperation policy, they amount to 1% of the list price, no less than $500 and not to exceed $2,500. Bright will fine you $5,000, so it's even more.
That's tough.
But they have the warning. So, and it says that per the rule change, subscribers who fail to obtain a coming soon form before submitting a listing will also not just receive a warning, they're going to get a fine right away. I do like that they're going right to fines because I do feel that there's people that I know there's people that violate this, and we have a very strict policy at our team where we got to have all the paperwork.
Yep.
Here's how we do things. We're going to completely abide by this. So I do like that they're enforcing that. What do you think about the clear cooperation policy and their approach there?
Well, yeah, like you said, if there's a policy, you have to enforce it. And for them just to be giving warnings, people are going to continue to push the limits. They always do until there is definitely, enforcement. It's just like anything. People push the limits. But if they know, I better not do this because I am going to get fined. I'm not just going to get a warning. They'll think twice.
They should think twice. I mean, This is if there's a rule in place, you got to follow it. I mean,
play by the rules.
That's all there is to it. And there's a lot of ramifications here. This isn't like a board game or Monopoly you're playing with your family. This is people's lives at stake where they want to live in a certain home and maybe they get screwed out of a house. I mean, that's really what they're trying to prevent too. And the last thing they did is they eliminated the ability of subscribers to commingle CRMLS listings with listings from other MLS sources in their IDX displays. So we're all in one MLS. However, South Jersey, if you're down the shore points, they have like 3 MLSs that they're in, depending on like if you're in LBI or you're in Atlantic City or you're in like Cape May, for example. And commingling of listings, what they mean there is homes that are coming from different MLS sources or different data feeds. And that's been pretty public about the Rex lawsuit between Rex and NAR and Zillow over the optional rule that allows MLSs to require listings from the MLS and listings from non-MLS sources are displayed separately. So what do you think about that?
Wow. there's probably going to be a lot of people upset about that, that they can't commingle. Yeah. Again, it's, you have to they're trying to just reduce, trying to keep everything more simple, I guess, and keeping everything in its rightful place. So, there's something to be said about that. I was not aware of the commingling in Jersey. So,
well, it's just the MLSs are. I mean, there should just be one MLS.
Yeah.
I mean, the national MLS would be a lot easier. You open the offices up, have a merger. I was at the T3 conference a couple of years ago. It's where they have all like the CEOs from around the country come in. So like Robert Refkin's there from Compass, and Rich Barton, and Josh Bolgrim was there from Remax, and all sorts of people. And there's all these MLS CEOs there, and I'm thinking to myself, what the heck are these guys doing? Right. Like, I understand that it's a service, but do you really need someone that's a CEO captaining that? And then we go to find out that there's people on the board that are with Long and Foster, but they sit on a Berkshire Hathaway board, and it's where's the interest? So the commingling thing, I think all that's happening here is this: California is the typical CYA state. They will do everything to cover their butt. And I think this particular MLS is just getting way ahead of all this stuff. And we're going to see all these things get implemented across the country, and it's going to take some time. And they're just doing it now to prevent the problems later. So what I appreciate about this from a business sense is that they're saying, hey, we're just going to be so overly compliant that when things change, or there's one of these lawsuits, or there's a court ruling, because these lawsuits have been going on for like years, right, they're going to already be done. And they're not going to have to go through the pain of telling 108,000 realtors, which good luck with that, hey, you got to change how you've been doing things, because we know real estate is full of people doing things a certain way because that's how they've always been done. So that to me is the main observation here. They're just trying to get ahead of it. They want to start the changes now. They're going to push people to do it. And that's going to be the way things are. Right.
So, yeah, they're preemptively doing the changes because they know it's coming. So, and that being said, if it happens in California, it's definitely going to trickle over to the East Coast.
Well, and all you people thinking about getting into real estate out there, this is why it's so important to connect with an organization that is ahead of the industry trends. Because I guarantee you 95% of the population right now in the greater Philadelphia area, this isn't even on their radar. Right. They don't know what's going on. So if you're thinking about getting into real estate and you want to connect with an organization that's doing that, check out our real estate scholarship program. It's realestatescholarshipprogram.com. You can go right there. We got all the info, no license, no problem. And on that note, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break because we've talked enough about California covering everyone's butt. Yep. And we're going to come back and talk about this article that names Exton as one of the top places to live in the country. Wow. And other things we kind of see in real estate like this article, because this isn't the first time something like this has happened. So this is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, tomtoole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com. Mortgage America's equal housing number, NMLS 128501.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
Have you considered...
15, stand by.
Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-69...
5 seconds, coming back.
TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
All right. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. We got Nick Wolf manning the live stream on Facebook and YouTube. Again, Google Tom Toole Sales Group, or just search it on Facebook or YouTube. We are streaming the show every week. We are also affiliated with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. And Stacey, we had this article come out. I've seen these before. It came out yesterday. And it comes from, they talk about it on Inman, but I guess it was a survey on Realtor.com of the, here, ready for the title? Best family-friendly suburbs of 2021. And our own Exton, Pennsylvania came in number 6 on the list.
Wow.
Very exciting. What do you think about all this?
Exton. I was like, oh, okay. It probably wouldn't have been in our area in Chester County would have been the first pick. But I'm so excited. I mean, to me, it's pretty exciting. Anytime you appear on a list of, any of the top 20 or 25. I mean, Chester County is what, in the top 25?
Chester County is typically one of the places. Yes, that is accurate.
So we do make that list.
Well, so here's what the description says, and this brings up an interesting topic. So another city that is run by people coming in from the suburbs, Philadelphia has no shortage of sprawling suburbs to choose from in all directions. Exton may not be quite as quaint and leafy as some of the other suburbs on this list, but a number of big box stores, parks, and highly developed infrastructure make it a popular choice for those coming into the city, or commuting into the city, Even working in New York, a 2-hour drive and 2.5-hour train ride away could be done in exchange for the large yard for the kids. I've seen these lists so many times. A couple years ago, West Goshen was like number 11. Ardmore was listed as the top place for young people to move to. And, I think what it speaks to is that we have a great community here. And there's so many different places to live because Exton does have a lot of conveniences. There's a lot of shopping around there. I mean, I grew up in Chester Springs, which I worked at the Exton Square Mall in high school, and there was like 5 stores in there. So it's come a long way. So that's all really cool. And there's a lot of these town centers being built, which Exton has. Main Street was like one of the first ones.
Yes.
Now they have the place in Malvern where Wegmans is.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, you look at, what's happened in some other places like the King of Prussia Town Center is very, has a lot of activity. So there's a lot of places like this. It just tells me we live in a nice market. Obviously, we already know that. I don't really take it for more than that. I mean, what's the difference? Like Exton, like who's to say Westchester is not as nice as Exton or Media is not as nice? I mean, it's kind of silly to me. What it did bring up is the thing. This is going to lead to, I guarantee you're going to see listings over the next 12 months move to the number 6 family-friendly suburb in Pennsylvania or in the entire country.
Yes.
I would bet money on this right now, a lot of money, that realtors are going to start using this almost immediately.
Absolutely. Rated,
By who? I don't even know what this means.
By Markets and Economy. Yes, rated number 6 on the list. Yeah. I think you're right. They're going to use it in advertising. And it's going to bring, not like we don't have an influx already, because the COVID market, definitely we've seen an influx of folks coming from the cities. New York City, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, they're all coming to the burbs. So this is just going to fuel that, and it's going to continue to grow. It's interesting. It also lists the median July home prices at $578. So that's a pretty hefty median home price there.
Well, the thing about Exton is it and take this, everyone who lives in Exton, please, it's not a real city.
Right. It's not a city.
You're either in Euclid Township,
right,
or you're in East Whiteland Township. And those are totally separate school districts, totally separate municipalities. Lower Merion, where I live, is full of this stuff. You got like 9 different zip codes that people say they live in. And there's a little bit of a different feel from Exton to other parts of Euclid and Exton to other parts of East Whiteland when you get in like Malvern and Downingtown. So I get that.
Right.
The whole thing to me is funny. And really what the list did is they took the biggest metro markets and just picked a town. But what this brought up to me is the stuff that realtors are going to use and realtors are going to say they're going to be totally ridiculous. So I came up with a list, and I wanted to kind of get your feedback on this of some of the most cliched things you hear in real estate.
Yep.
Some of the silliest things you hear, because we know that Exton's a great place to live. We have a lot of clients that live there. I grew up out that way. It's got the mall actually is pretty nice if you like going to malls. I try to avoid shopping at all costs. So I wanted to run some of these things by you and see if this is stuff you think realtors actually say or don't say, because a lot of times when they say this, I look at them and I'm like, man, you have no idea what you're talking about. So the first one is, and have you seen this on like the signs at riders out front? Honey, stop the car. Have you seen these things?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of when you see that?
Yeah, no, it's okay. Don't stop the car.
I mean, have they heard of the internet? I mean,
right, exactly. Right. Most people, that's if they see something they like and there's a sign in the yard, they're going to look it up on their phones. They're going to Google search it right away, not stop the car.
I mean, you know what? I mean, it's just, I used to get calls all the time when I got into the business. Hey, we're right outside the home. We saw the sign. Back in, 2001, sure, makes sense. Like people, I mean, they didn't even have pictures on the MLS then.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a much different time. Now things are a lot different. So that was one that jumped out at me. What are some of the other things you hear people say, or even like consumers say, that are kind of cliched in real estate? Because there's a ton of them here. And I think it's important for people to understand, if you want to fake it till you make it or look like you know what you're talking about, just don't say any of these things whatsoever.
Won't last on the market. Mm-hmm.
And it's got it's been on the market 210 days.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Be sure to see it because it's not going to last. And it's like, well, it's still sitting there. As a matter of fact, I just did a showing on one of those the other day. You must see the inside. That's another one. The Pottery Barn style.
I don't even know what that means. I mean, does it mean it's like painted nicely and has like normal furniture? I see that, like, and agents will put this in like, you'll love this Pottery Barn style home.
Right.
I've never even been to Pottery Barn.
I think that might be keen to people who are into that design. But if you've never been to Pottery Barn, you would have no clue. And honestly, I wouldn't know what that means either. I just assume it's like that farm chic style design that's in a lot of the homes.
What a lot of people don't get is that there's so much video.
Yes.
Nick is part of our team full time, right? His job is to video listings, take pictures. You don't need to explain what the color and schematic is. It's more the features, the important stuff, because most people, they don't even look at the description as much as they used to, because you have these great photos and video that are there. So I think that's something. It's just, I don't know. I'd love to know who made that up. And if I was Pottery Barn, I'd want like a trademark and some royalties from that.
Exactly. But people, they don't even most of the time read the description. That's kind of the after event. They go straight to the pictures first. They scroll through every single picture, and then they'll, reach out to an agent, and we talk about it. And I said, well, it says it has ABC, XYZ. Oh, I didn't even read that. So that's from firsthand experience. So yeah, they go right to the pictures.
Well, and I love when people call a place like quaint or cozy, and I'm like,
I love that.
Like, is it small? Is that what you're trying to say? Like, it's an undersized house, or
right.
I mean, it's or like an up and coming neighborhood. Like, what does that even mean?
What does that mean? Yeah. Ooh, what does that mean? Up and coming neighborhood.
So, according to U.S. News and World Report, they did an article a few years ago about the 8 home selling buzzwords that annoy consumers the most. And they said the description of being in an up-and-coming neighborhood takes on a whole new meaning, and usually not a positive one. And then they get into things like it's probably somewhere that's being gentrified, and it hasn't been fully gentrified yet. And that's kind of putting it nicely. And we got to be really careful what we say here.
Right.
But it almost like violates fair housing when you do that.
Totally.
What does that? I mean, I just don't understand what that means. I mean, it's just, hey, it's located in XYZ town.
Right. I say just leave that statement out altogether.
That's another good one. What about when the realtor tells you, hey, I've been doing this for 30 years?
Yeah, I know. I hear that a lot.
So what precedes that, or what happens afterwards? Does it mean that they haven't innovated their business? Did they use carbon copied contracts?
Yeah, it seems like that. But it's funny when I don't know why they throw that out there. I guess they want to just make you aware that they're very experienced and they know what's going on.
So for all the realtors listening, when someone says that to you, I would encourage you to go to the MLS and look up their production from the past year and see if they've sold anything in the past 20 years, because that's going to make you feel a lot better. Usually it's like an intimidation tactic. It's like, hey, I know what I'm doing here. I've never seen this before. And just because you've been doing something a long time and haven't changed the way you do business at all, that doesn't mean anything. I can vividly remember that, we have streamlined settlements for our sellers where there's no reason for them to go at this point. And we did this years ago. And I would get such pushback from these agents. What do you mean no one's going to be at the inspection? What do you mean no one's going to be at the settlement? And I said, well, the inspector's going to be there. The buyer's going to be there.
Right.
and they're like, well, why aren't you going to be there? And it's, well, I'm not an inspector, and our attorney recommended we don't go. And I've never heard of this. And I'm said, well, maybe
I've been doing this 20 years.
Yeah. And then I'm like, great. Well, that doesn't really mean anything. And I think it's just real estate is full of people doing things a certain way because that's how they always have done it, and they don't innovate. Right. And that's what you see a lot of. And these are the people getting pushed out of the industry that have the honey stop the car signs on the top of their listings. The other cliche thing in descriptions, boasts. I don't like that. Like the great room boasts a lot of sunlight. And it's like, let's choose something a little bit more. I don't know. That one drives me nuts, that cliche term. Well, is that even the right usage of the word?
Right.
Because boasting usually means like bragging. And that would mean to me, let's look this up here because I think we'll actually look up the definition because that would mean it like possesses in that sense. So the two ways to use boast, according to a Google search, is actually it is possess. So you may not like it, but at least it is grammatically correct because most people can't even. Yeah. I mean, I get emails from some of these people. They can't even like form a sentence or they're not punctuated properly. So, but if you don't like it, you don't like it, Stacey. No judgment here.
Don't like that one. Yeah.
So what about like when they say it's like, I mean, it's like it's close to everything. I mean, or they're
everything.
Or serious buyers only. I mean, like, do you think like what's that supposed to say to buyers that are looking? Well, I'm serious if I like the property. I just think those couple of things, or this home has it all. I mean, I don't even know what all means. I mean, that's going to mean. I just seems like a lot of people just like talk in circles. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they just want to fill it up with a bunch of words to make it look like a nice big description. So it's not necessary.
The advice we have for realtors: talk like a normal human being.
Yes.
On that note. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio. You want to follow us on Facebook. It's Tom Toole Sales Group. There's Toole with an E. You can check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow Stacey on Instagram at the number 2, MITCHCO at 2Mitchco. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD at Tom Toole 3rd. You want to email the show, it's info@tooletimeradio.com. We will see you next week. This is WWDB 860 AM.